Welcome to Conscious Profits Unfiltered. This is your host, Sebastian Nam.
What's up, fam? Today, I had a super energetic and inspiring human, Monica Richards, aka the EcoBabe. Monica Richards is a former farm girl turned eco-friendly interior designer and Hollywood TV host who launched her lifestyle brand, EcoBabe, to empower people to live more sustainably and believe in the power of individual impact. In addition to the EcoBabe blog, YouTube channel, and EcoBabe Goods Shop, Monica owns a sustainable consultancy for homeowners and brands. She also leads The Collective, a global conscious community of committed eco-babes and climate optimists co-creating a better world together. I had a great time with Monica talking about her least eco-conscious practice, an overall look at what we're doing to our planet, and also some great eco-hacks for individuals and brands with large impact. I want to give a special thank you and shout out to the sponsor of today's show, Conscious Capitalism Los Angeles, whose aim is to connect, inspire, and cultivate conscious business leaders in LA, and is a key piece of a larger scale worldwide conscious capitalism movement. Now stick around and enjoy the show. Monica, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for being on.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Monica, first question I always ask my guests.
Yeah.
What was your last oh shit moment? First thing that comes to mind.
This morning when I had on this faux leather pair of pants and I went to sit down to do this interview and I was like, against the seat. So I had to change. I go through oh shit moments like a million times a day. So
I love that. You know, some people I ask and they're like, they think about it and they say something from like 3 years ago. But yours was your faux leather pants that were speaking too much. That's great. I like that.
I have an oh shit 3 years ago.
I love it. Monica, what is the if you have to choose one thing, what is the single one worst thing that we're doing to the planet today?
Oh God, are you gonna make me choose?
Choose one thing.
Carbon emissions.
Okay.
I would say carbon emissions are the base for climate change. So that's why I'm saying that at a foundational level, everything we do is connect. Do you want me to get into it?
Absolutely. That's what we're doing.
Okay. So climate change, how I like to describe it, because it's actually like everything is so connected that it's mind blowing. So the way that I describe it is the more carbon output that we emit, the more the earth heats up. So think of the earth as like an apple, right? And the skin of the apple is our carbon emissions. Well, if you heat an apple, if there's a thicker skin of carbon emissions, it stays warmer longer.
Okay.
So as our carbon emissions are in the atmosphere, we're emitting too much. We're not able to sequester, which means to hold onto the carbon emissions via ocean, trees, and soil. So this layer, this apple skin is building thicker, and so it traps the heat from the sun. So that's why our planet is warming. So when that happens, our oceans warm, precipitation goes up, the evaporation into the atmosphere is heavier, and that's why we see like heavier flooding. The heat causes heavier droughts, heavier like raging wildfires. So everything is literally connected to how much carbon we are emitting into the atmosphere and not able to get back into the ground, into the foundation.
That's a great explanation. And
Okay.
basically in terms of how we're emitting carbon, it's
all
kinds of things that we're doing.
Even cryptocurrency.
What's that?
Even cryptocurrency.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm big on cryptocurrencies. In fact, I had a podcast on a very important guy in the Bitcoin world, and he actually talked about it. He was actually making a strong point about Bitcoin's demand for clean energy, because if you don't use clean energy, your margins are tiny because you use so much energy to actually mine Bitcoin. So a lot of these Bitcoin miners are now going towards renewable sources because energy costs going up. So it's basically an economics part. So they're actually, demanding more clean energy. So it's an interesting thing there.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I won't ask you like what the solution for that is right now, because
I don't know the solution.
Yeah. That was the whole point. You were going to come here with a solution to solve the world. Monica, have you ever broken up with a guy or stopped dating a guy because he wasn't eco-conscious?
Oh God, you know, I feel like if I went on a date, I'm divorced, first of all. If I went on a date and the guy used a plastic straw, I'll be like, let's just be friends. You know what I mean? Like you can hire me for consulting services, but that's where it ends. I haven't like really broken up with someone, but I've had an ex who is not very eco-conscious, and it is like, because it's so much of who I am as a person, it's not your full identity, but it becomes like your lifestyle and who you are, and it's your morals. It's like your moral compass. If you don't get that, then I just feel like we're not aligned in that way. And then it's also if you don't get that, you don't understand me.
Yeah.
Which is a huge disconnect in and of itself, right?
Yeah, it's different than just having a like or a hobby. It's your moral essence.
Right, 100%. So, yeah, I don't think it definitely would not work.
Sounds good. So guys, if you're out there listening and you're like, yo, this eco babe's a babe, you better tighten up your practices. On your website, Monica, it says that you grew up green. What does that mean?
I grew up on a farm in the middle of Michigan. So we all use this, like, I can't do it it's opposite of the screen. Oh, it's like the mitten. Michigan looks like a mitten. So we all use it as like our home base to say where we're from. So I'm from like here, grew up on a super small farm, one stoplight, or super small town, excuse me, one stoplight. And we had like every single kind of fruit tree. Our garden was so ginormous. My dad had to rototill it with a big tractor, and it was all organic. We had all sorts of animals. So that's what I mean when I grew up green. I really grew up like collecting chicken eggs and taking care of animals and seeing how everything is connected and having just like so much respect for our planet. We lived off I mean, I wouldn't say like we lived off the land, but I would say did more than most. So it was a really beautiful childhood, and yeah, I'm blessed to have grown up green.
So were you consuming a lot of the things that you guys had on your farm in terms of plants and animals?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. My mom would even make our ketchup and mustard from potatoes and mustard seeds. Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I just out of curiosity, are you like a dietary standpoint, are you vegan or anything like that?
I like to call it a flexitarian.
Same.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. It's the hard thing about veganism, there's two things. And one is I think that veganism becomes people's identity. And so that's why it's such an aggressive movement. I think it's getting better. But it really does make people kind of shy away from it. The other issue is that some people can't actually be plant-based. Like I have someone in my family, their blood type can't absorb protein from anything but animal protein. That's a really expensive blood test. Like no one usually is able to get it. Her insurance covered it. But so there's those two things. For me, I feel better when I'm not eating a lot of meat. And honest to God, last summer over quarantine, I was going up north a lot, Northern California, to Discovery Bay. And there's all of these commercial ag farms, like cow farms on the way. And I was just like, when you go by it, I always use this example, but you're literally like Ace Ventura in that room of death. Like in the movie, it's so heartbreaking. And you see.
Wait, are you talking about when he's in his room full of animals?
Yeah, the dead animals, like on the wall. And he's like,
oh, the dead animals. Oh, no, got it. Got it. I laughed because I was picturing him like when he's like, and he's got all. That's the beautiful part. Okay, got it.
Oh my God. Well, I would have loved to be like that and like save all the cows, free all the cows, but it wasn't. So that really made me stop and be like, oof, I don't want to be supporting and eating that. So, yeah.
I asked because I think that there's a lot of people maybe that are connecting eco-consciousness with being plant-based, for example, or at least being more conscious. And then to some people, there is not necessarily not a connection. And so I just wanted to see if that was something to you.
Yeah. And the interesting fact is a study from University of Michigan just came out this year, where if every person were to go 8 times a week plant-based, just 8, that's so doable, especially if you eat like 21 meals a week, right?
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out. Yeah, got it.
8 times a week if you choose plant-based over meat.
Yeah,
we could reverse climate change.
that's wild. Yeah, I had heard something like, yeah, it was a similar stat. Just
Mhm.
it was just out of like looking at like hamburgers or something. It was like something crazy. It was like if people ate like one less hamburger, per week or something crazy, it was like an insane amount of impact.
Yeah,
Uh, it's wild. It's wild.
it
So
really is.
yeah, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's the least eco-friendly thing that you've done in the past year?
In the
Beyond,
past year?
yeah, or
Oh,
whenever, or just
anything that I've done. Well, I mean, I drive a car that's not an EV, an electric car.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It has an eco mode, okay? When I got this car, I wasn't as like we're all on an eco journey is what I say, right? And we all
Mm,
have to take baby steps and we have to give ourselves space and grace to get to where we strive to be.
yep.
And when I got this car, I wasn't as like eco friendly or as far as my journey as I am now. I would get electric if I were to get another car.
Yeah.
That's like every time I get it, I'm like, damn.
I saw I don't know if it was a meme or I think it was some sort of art on the wall that said something like, it's not about all of us doing every single thing perfectly. It's about most of us trying to do most things right. And
Yeah.
that would be a huge change, you know?
Yes. And can you imagine if everyone on this planet was just doing a little bit more
Yeah.
to be more eco friendly? It'd be a whole different world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. There's something about for me recently, so I saw the documentary The True Cost a while back.
Mm.
Sure you've seen it. So
Mhm.
it's a really good one, and that's about fashion and clothing industry. And I was shocked about how much like the clothing industry actually does what it does to the environment. And supposedly the number one worst thing industry is oil, and then the second worst industry is like clothes. And I was like blown away. And honestly, I like clothes. I like fashion, and this is probably even more prominent for women than guys, but if you're someone who likes fashion and you like to switch things up and switch things around, like I'm not going around buying and tossing clothes. Like I'm giving clothes away, and donating and this and that, but that's not the point. The point is that I am a consumer of the clothing industry. And so it's really tough because you go buy something, you're like, oh man, there's no label on this, unless it's like you're buying like this quadruple overpriced t-shirt and Abbott Kinney that
Right.
like, you know what I mean? That like says everything about their practices. Usually there's nothing on a label. Like, how do you deal with that with clothes? Hey guys, I just want to remind you, if you want to find more content like this, you can visit sebastiannaum.com. That's Sebastian, Naum.com. You can also get a ton of other marketing resources from myself and my agencies, ranging from SEO to social media, influencer marketing, branding, web development, and more. Again, that's sebastiannaum.com. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the show.
First of all, for women, I love Rent the Runway. You
I don't
just
know what that is. Tell me.
Oh my gosh, I'm a TV host, and when I first started doing the show for AOL, like I don't even know, 6 years ago, it was when Rent the Runway first came out, and I was on this wait list, like, oh my God, I need this. I was on the wait list for like a year, right? So I've been with Rent the Runway for this whole entire time. You pay a monthly fee, and it's like 150 bucks, 120. They just like re or pivoted their business structure, but it's like $120 a month. You get 8 different outfits a month and you're just constantly swapping. And they have natural dry cleaners. They reuse all of the plastic bags, recycle them. They arrive in cloth bags, and those are always recycled and upcycled. And yeah, you basically rent these amazing styles that are like all of the name brands that you love, but you can feel better about it because then you're just giving it back and the next person rents it. And, it's like circular. It's a circular
That's
economy.
really awesome. Do they have that for men?
I think they have, oh my gosh, is it Stitch Fix? Stitch Fix? They have a different one. It's not Rent the Runway, it's a different one. I'll look it up for you. I'll get back
I'll
to
have
you.
to check that out. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
it's super cool. Yeah.
So
And they
that's one solution for sure. And that's, honestly, that's a solution probably for people that can afford it, right? But that's also maybe the same issue with the people that can afford buying a lot of clothes anyway. So I guess it goes with that. I
yeah,
wish there was some sort of label, just like there's labels on food. I wish there was labels on clothes, to be honest, other than just made
not,
in. What's that?
it's not transparent at all.
No, it's one of the least transparent. So it's a tough one for sure.
And the
Um,
other thing is you have to think about like where those clothes are made and who makes your clothes, because there is a high rate of trafficking and human slavery
Yeah.
attached to the fashion industry.
Yeah.
So that's the other kicker that we really should be
That's
careful.
why that's why that doc really blew my mind, because it just, like you said about the connectedness of everything, it was connected to so much like other just nasty, horrible things. Just dark. It was dark. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, it's just a dark industry. It's crazy. I wanted to ask you, so it can be very disempowering
Mhm.
to think about making a difference or doing the right things on an individual basis. And it's very similar to like voting. In a way, it's like, what is my one vote gonna do? But a bunch of individual votes, right, um, make the difference. So now
Okay.
we talked about, the power of individuals being able to do things, and it's not about everybody doing everything perfectly, and it's about a lot of people doing a lot of things right,
Mhm.
but companies doing things on a mass level
Mhm.
can cause a huge amount of impact, because they're the ones that are doing things on a grand scale. So if someone is not an entrepreneur or a CEO or a founder, what do you recommend that they can do as an entrepreneur inside of a company to try to move things towards eco consciousness inside their companies?
Here's the thing. We're talking about small companies, small business.
I mean, I'm thinking more so large businesses, because that is the challenge where somebody feels like, how can I do anything? It's like, I work for this big company. I have a good salary. Like, it helps me support my family. It's not really the very eco-conscious company, but I don't really want to like move jobs, or I don't want to do this. Like, but I care. What can I do inside my company? How can I try to make a difference?
Instill programs. So there's a lot of companies like TerraCycle is one, and
Okay.
they have these amazing recycling programs where it's all of the hard to recycle items. I mean, they take back like Solo cups, every cigarette butts, everything. So I would have my company invest in a TerraCycle box and then get everyone to like whatever that company manufactures or like whatever you're using inside the company culture. If it's like coffee pods or masks or whatever it is, I would get these boxes and just have like better recycling systems. The other thing that you can do, speaking of salary, is switch your bank. Do you know about this? Finance?
No.
It's pretty insane. Okay. So when by the way, sometimes I feel bad because I know like, so I'm one of those people that like knows a little about a lot. So I could just keep going and going.
Bring it on.
So for finance, when you put your money into a bank in America, like Chase, Bank of America, so on and so forth, that's like they take your dollars aren't physically in the bank. They
Right.
take them and they fund entities around them.
Mhm.
8 out of 10 of your dollars in these big major banks fund fossil fuels, the fossil fuel industry. It's like it's becoming more known, but for a long time it's been pretty unknown. So there are banks like Bank of the West that you can switch that do not do that and only invest in ethical companies.
Huh.
One thing you can do for yourself, for your family, get more people within your company to do that. Um, there's, and I would just, I mean, it's hard to answer because it depends on the company. Like, what if you installed like a compost garden or like had like a compost service come by for like all of your employees dumping their food in this compost and then the compost is picked up and taken to a local farm. There's services like that too, where you can just like really kind of green up and clean up your interior company culture. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, I think that it can be challenging for somebody who doesn't know where to start. There's a
Yeah.
lot more companies now that have sustainability directors, and obviously if they have sustainability directors, they're now starting to think about that. So maybe that's a person that someone inside of a company can go to and speak to and bring things up, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I do think it's important for people to start bringing these things up to leadership and to managers, right? I think that it's becoming obvious to
Hmm.
me, at least in this industry, that companies, conscious brands and conscious companies are starting to resonate with younger generations more and more, and they're making more money. So I think that, is that something that you see sometimes when you're consulting, when, somebody's like, oh, that's so expensive. It's so expensive to go green here. It's so expensive to go green there. Are you seeing that in the end, it's making them more money?
Yeah, I mean, I think the same way that we need to give our individual selves grace, we have to do that for companies as well. Because when you're just starting off as a small company, you need to make profit or you won't stay in business. So
Yeah.
as you make more money, then you can be on this trajectory of becoming more and more green. That's the way that I think is feasible to structure, unless you have like a ton of investments right off the bat. But a lot of companies don't have that. So you just have to like take these baby steps, like micro to macro, and really grow. I think transparency is key too. So for companies that want to be more green and want to be higher up on their eco journey and higher up on their support of sustainability, you say that on your website. You have that in your brand story, your brand messaging. Like, we are striving to become greener every single day. Right now, this is what we're struggling with, but we've taken these steps to further our sustainable support for sustainability.
I love that. I love that. I'm currently involved in a little startup with a business partner. It's a coffee brand. I'm excited about it. I haven't really been talking
Super excited
about it.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been talking. Well, the thing is this. I have another good friend who I had on the podcast in the very beginning. It's a brand called Sun and Swell Foods, and they've got compostable packaging. They've got all these things. And Kate, the founder, talked to me about that. It wasn't something that you could do all at once. And now they're there just three years later, something like that. And so working with my business partner, I was the one at first who was like, no, dude, we gotta do it all right. We gotta do this and this and this and this and that. And he was like, Seb, like, we can't, like, we need to figure out a way that first, let's try to get profitable. Let's do a lot of let's try to do all the things we can. And then I was like, you're totally right. It makes sense from a business standpoint. And the more you can grow, then you start taking all those steps. So I love the fact that you said having grace for, at least for startups, for small companies, maybe the big, large brands that have billions, and not just
They have
funding
no excuse.
profits. They have no excuse.
No,
Absolutely.
that drives me nuts. The other thing you can do either a small or a more large company, you can kind of neutralize your carbon footprint. So you can be like carbon neutral, and how you do that is you could have a tree program, planting trees for every purchase. You could have sea trees, which is actually kelp in the ocean. It's a huge carbon dioxide sequesterer, and they act as trees, but in the ocean. Same sort of processes. So you could invest in kelp farming is what it's called. So you could have all these different programs of kind of like these give back programs where that would neutralize, per se, your carbon footprint. So I think that for any size company is something that's really valuable to the company and to the consumer.
That's a great one, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good one, because for the most part, I'm thinking about what can a company do that's existing in the company that can change or help. But they can actually go outside of what they're doing on a daily basis, like what you just said with the kelp farm, invest in that and give back to that. That's actually helping.
Yes, and that's a bigger scale, right? So then you can, it sometimes helps, I hate to say it, but it sometimes helps to fund or give back to a program that's on a bigger scale than kind of what you're doing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It just feels more empowering that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Monica, when you consult for brands, not for individuals, but for brands and companies, is there a process that you go about? How do you go about it?
Yeah, so I have the company fill out this Google Doc with questions that I have on there, just so I know a little bit more about going into their space, their work culture. And then I do what's called the discovery call. So we can like get to know each other. A lot of it is not in person, especially nowadays. So so we do the call, and then I just go from there, like whatever they need. I have a client right now. It's an amazing startup company. It has to do with children's parties, and everything is in this box that is sent to parents' doorsteps, and it's all eco-conscious brands. So it's like really easy. It's like set up for 8 kids, everything you need for this birthday party. But she needed even help with their website and kind of like that sustainable brand story, because also people don't know the language of sustainability. And so I help literally from the ground up, whatever a company needs.
Got it. So
Yeah.
everything from whether practices to the actual brand strategy and communication, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And products as well.
Love it.
Yeah.
You have a program called The Collective.
Yes.
It's a membership platform. So, and you say we co-create a better world. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What is it?
So it's a global community. We have members everywhere from Germany to London to the States to Canada. It's this really healthy ecosystem of people who care. And I co-founded it with the climate optimist. Her name is Antrice Gennari. She's amazing. And we came together to create this community because we were like, and this is a year ago, right? So if you think about a year ago, yes, it was bad, but it wasn't this bad. So even back then, climate wise, even back then we were like, man, we just really want a community where we can come together. We're having a bad day. If we're feeling heavy, like we want to be able to tuck into this community and be supported. We also want to be able to take action within this community and provide people an outlet to take action, to make a difference, to ask questions. So that's what the community does. We have collective call to action days where once a month we call our local or our state congressional members. The thing that people, and this is another thing you can do as an individual, Congress, which is made up of Senate and House of Representatives, they don't know exactly what's happening outside of Congress doors unless we call them to tell them what we want supported, which bills we want supported, so that then those can be written into law. We are literally the gateway for bills to be written into law. So your calls count. So call your local or your state congressional members. You can email them, you can write them, all of it. All of these calls and requests are tallied up at the end of each week per office. And that's how Congress knows like what's important to really push for on the Senate floor. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would have, I think the normal thought is like, who the heck's going to answer my phone? Why would it matter that I send an email?
Yeah, they actually love it. Every time I call, the people who are answering the phones are like, oh my gosh, thank you. I'll pass them the message. And even if you leave a voicemail, those are also tallied at the end of each week. It's so powerful. Yes.
So is there a good resource where people could go find these phone numbers?
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, it's in the collective. Called.
If you don't have it, we'll include it in the links.
Okay, we'll put it in the link. Yeah, you just put in your zip code and it gives you like your House of Representative members and then your Senate members as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Monica, what are your current your favorite eco-conscious hacks?
Oh my gosh. Wait, by the way, the collective, also we have featured films every month as well. You would love it.
Love it.
All of it. Like the true cost is in there as well. Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay. Hacks for what? Like which area of your life?
So I think we could do, let's do it this way. So what are your favorite hacks that you could just do on your own? And what are your current most favorite products or, brands that are, eco-conscious?
Oh my gosh. Wait, hacks you can do on your own, like in the kitchen?
Yeah, exactly. Like in the kitchen, whatever it is that you're doing, like little things that you mentioned something the other day when we were talking. And you said that there are things that people think are not eco-friendly, but actually are. So they just need a little bit more information on it. I think we meant like wool, for example. You said
Yeah. The thing with wool is it's actually one of the most eco materials that you can wear. Speaking of fashion, which we just spoke about.
Yeah.
A fashion hack is to really go for natural materials. So silk, organic cotton, wool, linen. Those are the materials where if you discard those pieces of clothing into the landfill, they do biodegrade and they do break down. Everything else like spandex, any synthetic fiber, which is also in most jeans, by the way, will sit in landfill and it takes like 500 years to biodegrade. So that's a really good hack fashion wise, is to really go for natural materials.
That's good.
Yeah. One of my biggest kitchen hacks is to sign up for a food service that's delivered to your home that supports local farmers. So I use Imperfect Foods. It's national. There's a lot of services like that. And this particular service actually combats food waste. We waste 40% of food in America. The most mind-boggling number especially when they're starving, 40%. And so this company sells you for a fraction of the cost all of the produce that isn't allowed to go to market because of minor imperfections, which
Yeah.
are nothing, by the way. It's like eating the same exact piece of
Yeah.
fruit or vegetable. Yeah, so that's one of my biggest hacks, because we all need food, and not all of us have access to local farmers markets. We just don't, depending on where we live. Also, try to be as pesticide free as possible for your own health and for the health of our soil. A lot of our soil, so they say we only have, well, now it's like 59 years left of farmable soil in the United States, because it's so depleted. And part of that depletion is not only from monocropping, which is like monoculture, like just
Yeah.
planting the same crop over and over and over for soy, corn,
Correct. You completely deplete the land, and
yeah, and part of that's pesticides.
Hmm.
So it depletes the soil of nutrients, which also is why a lot of Americans have deficiencies, is the depleted soil, because it doesn't create these nutritious, amazing vegetables that have everything we need in them anymore. So going pesticide free when you're at the grocery store, which means organic, is also a huge one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The food waste situation is insane, and that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I love Perfect Produce. I've used them in the past quite a
Yeah,
lot.
thank you. Yeah.
And you know, with organic, it's a whole other thing too, because there's a whole chain of events that actually, what is sad is that a lot of even the organic that we're getting is not even truly organic. There's a lot of stuff going on with the international farmers, and there's brokers that are switching things, there's a whole thing. But you got to try, and you got to do what you can.
Yeah, for your own health as well.
When it comes to organic.
Yeah, pesticides are cancer causing.
Absolutely.
Cancer.
Yeah, I mean, I could go all day about this stuff. I love it. So, and what is well, I asked you, and any other, like, what brand really inspires you that you think just does it all right?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Well, can I show you the brand that I just,
Yeah.
the collaboration, because their name is Sanakind. So I recently collaborated with a company called Sanakind, and they really do it right. It's refillable hand sanitizers made of recycled ocean plastic from the waterways of Haiti and Mexico. And the culture that is within those like plastic collections is amazing. So everything's refillable. So you literally buy one and you don't ever have to throw these plastic sanitizers away. They give back to 1% for the planet. Everything is carbon neutral. It's shipped plastic free, and the refills are aluminum. Aluminum is like endlessly recyclable. Like even if pretty much every beer that you drink has already been recycled once, the can. So it's like, yeah, cool little fact. So I recently partnered with them for our own sanitizer, which looks like this. There it is. It says EcoBabe on it. It has like that cool chic teak print, and it comes out like this, and then you just refill it. At the top, it comes with a little funnel. Their solution, by the way, is also COVID. It's effective against COVID. It's who's World Health Organization certified. Most sanitizers are not. So it's effective against what you're trying to combat. And then the refills look like this. So it's like an aluminum.
That's great.
They check all the boxes, and I loved them before I even came to them to be like, can we make one just for our own community? They're just a really good company, and they're very inspirational because they started from the ground up.
Love that.
That's
really cool.
Yeah.
What's crazy about with COVID was that when it first hit us hard in March, April of 2020, and we were all basically, in our homes, it was this beautiful thing for the environment, because cars weren't driving around the streets, and planes weren't flying. I mean, you could see it here. You could see the smog was gone. It was insane. Yet on the other side, we were just going through tons of paper towels and sanitizing wipes and hand sanitizer and all kinds of stuff that and now all of a sudden, like, you go to an office and there's no more glasses and plates, and now it's now cups and whatever. So it's like, it was tough because you saw this beautiful thing for the environment, and at the same time we started crushing it again. So I love that is something directly related to this issue that we're having today that has a solution. So that's really cool.
100%.
Yeah. So what's next? Is there anything that you're excited about that you want to share with us?
Yeah, well, I'm moving to potentially New York. I still have to figure this out, but I'm excited to like bring the green to whichever city
Yeah.
I'm
Bring the
moving to.
green.
Bringing the green, yeah. I'm also starting a discovery series on my IG Live and IGTV where
Okay.
I talk about the truth behind sustainability and the impact that you can have in it. So I'll be interviewing, I think we talked about this before, but I'll be interviewing basically my community has asked me questions for years that I don't always have the answer to, but I'm always like,
Mhm.
I will get the answer to this because I also want to know. So these are the questions, like the burning questions that have been left unanswered because they're just like, they're like too expansive to answer by yourself. So I'll be interviewing leading industry experts and thought
Love
leaders
it.
to get these questions answered once and for all. Yeah, so that's next. I'm super excited about it.
Perfect. I
Yeah,
love that.
thank you.
What are the two traits that a conscious leader must embody?
Ooh, authenticity and transparency.
You had those right away. I
I
love
don't
that.
know why, but yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, probably because I'm so, like, passionate about it, you know?
Mm.
Like, the greenwashing, like you said, is also just so
Yup.
insane, and so that's something and it's almost like a trick to the consumer, which isn't cool, you know? It's like exactly.
Yeah. What just if anybody doesn't know what greenwashing is, why don't you tell us?
Oh, I'm sorry. So greenwashing is saying something is, like, more sustainable than it isn't. Like, that would be like me, um being like, "This is plastic free," but it's not. It's made of plastic. It's just upcycled oat. Well, that's a bad example because it's still like really it's still a really good product.
Well,
Green
but it's how you communicate it too. It's
yeah, yeah. It's like taking something that's like a tiny bit could be potentially eco and being like, "It's 100% certified or
right.
eco-friendly." That's what
Yeah.
greenwashing is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, Monica, where can people find you?
Many places. I have a website called ecobabe.co. On the collective, that's collectivexaction.com. And then my Instagram is at the ecobabe. All of my socials at the ecobabe.
The Eco Babe. Love it.
Yeah, I'd love to have everyone join our community.
Love it. Well, you're clearly a conscious leader. I love everything that you're doing and you're an inspiration. So please keep being you. And thank you so much for being on today, Monica.
Thank you, Seb. I also have to acknowledge and honor you for doing things like watching documentaries and just starting there because it's such a beautiful place to start. And just watching those documentaries is spreading awareness. I'm sure you're talking about it to your friends, and it's
Yeah,
like that amazing domino effect. So I just want to honor you
I
for
appreciate
being
that. I
such
appreciate
a
I if the Hollywood industry would be the pure Hollywood industry would be dead with me. Like I can't watch like I don't binge like you know what I mean series or anything. I just watch documentaries. Like that's all I like to watch. I want to feel dumber after I watch something. You know what? I mean, I like to watch sports, so but I do watch some sports, you know,
yeah.
um but yeah, I just feel so good to come off of something and be more educated and being like, okay, you know, and like you're right. So thank you so much for acknowledging that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're expanding.
Appreciate it.
We're all evolving and expanding. That's the goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The
Thank
process.
you, Seb.
Thanks so much, Monica. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. You know, it takes a lot to put these things together, but I truly love doing it. If you enjoyed this episode or the show in general, and you listen to it on audio podcast, please take some time to give it a review. It would really mean a lot to me. And if you watch the video, please go ahead and just click subscribe and share it with somebody that you think would like it. It would really mean the world to me, and it helps keep the show alive. Visit sebastiannaum.com for more content and follow me on Instagram at sebnaum. That's SEBNAUM. Thanks again for spending your time with me. I know it is valuable. I hope you have a great rest of the day and week. Till next time.